Kule life lesiyakiyo umuntu ngangemuntu kuyafuna at least abe nawo 3 skills in life.
Mina ngibonga kakhulu ngoba solo ngatsala kusebenza lo msebenzi abadinga ngikusupport labantu.
Awile
Wena babi
emandla abakasimelane
sekuphelile ngaso ngeke uphindze usibone.
Ha, kuphele kanjani ngaso God?
Lesikhwama salamadimoni abo sishile.
uNkulunkulu ungikhombise isipho lahlanyele lapha kuwe Musa.
sihamba nekutehlisa.
Nothando.
akamele singene lendlu.
Ini uyasangana yini?
Kumele angene endumbeni.
Angeke kulunge. Lento idalethe ingcabano kulomndeni. Wathi ngani?
Lo mfana sebenza ngemandla kaNkulunkulu. Siwati kahle thina emadloti la kaSimelane.
Simon on Mondays at 8:30 p.m. on Eswatini TV. Sibuko Semaswati.
The government of the Kingdom of Eswatini desires to achieve sound socio-economic development that will improve the standard of living of its people by sharpening the competitive edge of industry through the optimal utilization of the comparative advantages of Eswatini, and further cultivate a quality culture across the spectrum of society through the establishment of a national quality infrastructure which comprises of institutions, structures, and systems for the development and implementation of quality activities. The Kingdom of Eswatini developed the National and Quality Policy in 2010, which is aimed at giving guidance and direction in the implementation of a coherent quality infrastructure that effectively supports industry, trade, and discharge of social services. The National Quality Infrastructure constitutes the following pillars: standardization, technical regulations, conformity assessment, metrology, and accreditation. The government is committed to develop and implement a functional national quality infrastructure that enhances competitiveness of national goods and services regionally and globally. A fully functional quality infrastructure will ensure that locally produced goods and services adhere to internationally recognized standards and shall be able to trade seamlessly in any country, and products tested in competent local laboratories are accepted everywhere. These collectively minimize barriers to trade. The establishment of an appropriate and functional quality infrastructure can substantially assist Eswatini in positioning her economy to seize the many opportunities available through appropriate implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. The quality infrastructure systems better position developing economies to achieve sustainable development through building prosperity, meeting the needs of the people, and protecting the planet. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development recognizes international trade as an engine for economic growth and poverty reduction and an important means to achieve the SDGs. Export-driven economic growth and increase in participation of micro, small, and medium enterprises are some of the key initiatives aimed by Eswatini Strategic Roadmap 2019 to 2023 to make a positive contribution to the country's economic growth and recovery. Local and international traders are interested in goods and services that conform to specified requirements. Thus, quality is the currency for international trade. International trade should be supported by a national quality infrastructure which provides the necessary tools to ensure that differences in local requirements, including those contained in national standards and technical regulations, do not unduly restrict international trade and do not harm the planet. The aforementioned benefits of a national quality infrastructure can never be overemphasized beyond this point. The government of the Kingdom of Eswatini has established various quality quality services such as quality, policy, and legislation development undertaken by the Regulatory and Quality Infrastructure Development Department, RQID. The department also performs the following functions: accreditation, facilitated by the National Accreditation Focal Point, NAFP, under the Regulatory and Quality Infrastructure Development Department. Technical regulations, Technical Coordination Office under the Infrastructure Development Department. Quality promotion to the general public through the Eswatini Quality Awards. The Eswatini Standards Authority, SWASA, undertakes standardization, certification, and industrial calibration. There is also a legal metrology function which is undertaken by the Weights and Measures section, metrology. Local access to services provided through the quality infrastructure institutions will enhance business growth by increased productivity, sales and returns, enhancing their availability in our local markets to support our industry.
It has just gone 8 o'clock Central African time. Good evening and welcome to the news bulletin at 8 project by Eswatini TV. My name is Adeboy Ngwane alongside Nomakabiso Ngambule. Thank you so much indeed for choosing to stay with us. We're coming to you live from our Hospital Hill studios in Babane. Let's take a look at our top stories. Pegiso Mazia is the new Chief Executive Officer of the National Agricultural Marketing Board. The Minister of Tourism has challenged the African Tourism Board to come up with strategies that will make it easy and cheap for Africans to visit the continent. And the Minister of Finance Senate Portfolio Committee has recommended that the House pass a bill that will see government secure a loan of not more than 1.2 billion for economic recovery. And now the news in detail. The Minister of Agriculture, Jabulani Mabuza, has announced Pegiso Mazia as the new Chief Executive Officer of the National Agricultural Marketing Board. Now the Minister says Mazia's appointment is as of for a period of 3 years. The Minister says he has faith in Mazia and asked him to make farmers and the country proud.
The National Agriculture Marketing Board has been without a permanent chief executive officer for the past 6 years since the departure of Sipepiso Dlamini. Acting in this position was Dr. Nhlanhla Shongwe, who has been thanked by the Minister of Agriculture, Jabulani Mabuza, for steering the ship during this period. Mabuza then announced who would fill this position.
Ngicela kuthatha leli thuba ke ngimemetele ekutheni awu bekunene sidowethula CEO lo musha wakanambodi siphinze futhi sethulele nabo balimi ngokuthi sebathawu sebenza ke nabhekizwe Mazia lo setabang CEO wakanambodi kuyangiwarisha ke kakhudlwana lokho ukuthi kuze kube nginamuhla ma farmers kusekhona ku structure nase kufanele kuhanjiswe impahla tiye emarket sangubeke ke kube clear chairman neboard yakho naye CEO lo musha lo fikako ukuthi kumgcoka kuyisebenta lenzaba emarket kakhulu.
Board Chairperson Joseph Ndlangamandla says they will give the new CEO all the necessary support to carry out his mandate.
We look forward to a good working relationship with the Chief Executive Officer. Siyathembisa futhi ngokuthi loku hambelana nama programs ekuthuthukisa lama farmers event sitawudimisela kokuthi sikuhambise embili.
Begizwe Mazia says he is up to the task.
It will be of main interest for me, Mhlonishwa Minister, to integrate the young people into agribusiness. Ngikubuka ukuthi labalimi labakhona sebakhulile. In order for the sector to be sustainable, we need to hand over to mobilize bantu labasha to take up the baton as well. Nabo sikufake kuma priorities, Mhlonishwa Minister, bangaze basigugele bantu labadzala. I'm also very much alive of the urgent need to bring back the image of NAMPOD and regain a stakeholder confidence.
Mazia comes with a wealth of experience as he was formerly the CEO of the Youth Enterprise Revolving Fund. Before that, he was with Eswatini Bank, where he worked with farmers. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosi Mavimbela with Mbongwa Dube, Mbabane.
The Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs, Moses Vilakazi, has challenged the African Tourism Board to come up with strategies that will make it easier and cheaper for Africans to visit the continent. The minister said this during the African Tourism Investment Summit.
The African Tourism Investment Summit was held under the theme Investing in Africa's Future Tourism Growth and Prosperity. It transpired that it was expensive for Africans to visit African countries as compared to visiting other continents. Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs Moses Vilakazi elaborates.
Those 1 billion people who can traverse east-west, north-south are not able to do so. It's costly, very difficult, and sometimes the visa regime affects us a lot. And I think that is one of the things that we need to look at, and I'm challenging ATB to actually look at such things so that we can be able to visit one another. The development of ecotourism sites, so that when the tourist comes, he will be able to enjoy and tell others. Because if you look at the tourists that come, whether they come from Kenya, whether they come from South Africa, whether they come from wherever, they will be repeat tourists, and they will be able to tell others, this is what I found, and this is what is great. And through that, those ecotourism sites, you are able, therefore, to multiply the tourists that visit your country. In Eswatini right now, we are taking a leave from some of the North African countries. We are matching our parks.
Kenya Minister of Tourism Najib Balala calls upon African countries to open up domestic markets.
Infrastructure for digitization is important, and we need to promote digitization to create innovative solutions and invest in the digital skills, particularly for workers and temporarily without an occupation and for job seekers. Number 4, foster sustainability and inclusive green growth. Today we are talking about climate change. We are talking about, again, the agenda 2030 agenda on sustainable development. Green investment is important. Again, we can use the sun in Africa. We have solar. Why can't we use green energy?
The summit hoped to tackle challenges for future investments in Africa's tourism industry, which includes climate change, the varying levels of infrastructural facilities, and political instability, are some of the challenges and areas concerned for investments in Africa. Governments have a key role to play in elaborating strategies so that tourism becomes a catalyst for private capital flows and unleash the potential of that industry and its positive contribution on employment and the income of local communities. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Ndlangamandla with Mbongwa Dube, Mbabane.
The Minister of Labour and Social Security, Philip Teleze, has officially opened the Technical Dialogue on Labour and Mixed Migration workshop. The minister says with changes in the business of mining sector in South Africa, the number of migrant mine workers has drastically decreased from about 8,000 to an average of 4,000 per annum.
Minister Butele says government is looking forward to the outcome of the workshop, which should include practical recommendations on the management of labor and mixed migration. He implored all participants to apply themselves and ensure effective participation so that the outcome of the workshop can be subject of consensus amongst all relevant stakeholders. For Eswatini TV News, for
unethical exposure of migrant workers within our region that has been taking place in the recent past, wherein a majority of the migrant workers affected are those in the cross-border transport industry, and is still continuing, has demonstrated major gaps or weaknesses either in the currently existing SADC labor and migration instruments or in their ratification levels by member countries and implementation of these regional instruments at country levels, both in law and practice. Within the same vein, the main issue may have much to do with the gaps in the existing bilateral agreements, or rather the absence of these bilateral agreements to foster effective collaboration on labor migration management.
Labour migration specialist Theo Spelboom from the International Labour Organization says the technical country-level dialogue on labour and mixed migration is very important.
First of all, we think we need to develop and implement solid, gender-responsive, evidence-based labour migration policies and practices to bridge gender and decent work gaps in the region. This is what the SAM project assists countries in the SADC region with at the moment. All SADC member states are committed to national labour migration policies, with some being in the process of developing them and others being at various stages of implementing them.
When the Minister of Labour and Social Security, Philip Teleze, officially opened the technical dialogue on labour and mixed migration, said he bemoans the fact that these migrant workers, particularly in the transport industry, whether in possession of or without possession permits, are equally facing serious challenges and risks, with some having lost their lives in violent clashes in some of the neighboring countries.
The Eswatini National Skills Audit Report reveals that the education sector is saturated now. This transpired when the Minister of Labour and Social Security, Philip Teleze, officially launched the Skills Audit Report.
The importance of the Skills Audit Report is to identify the challenges preventing the economy from thriving and to improve skills development in the country. The report shows that 67% of graduates do not have appropriate skills for job markets. It further indicates that the youth make the largest proportion category of employed people in a majority of industries, even though they are slightly below 50% of the total employed group. The report was presented by the Minister of Labour and Social Security, Philip Teleze.
The country will benefit massively in that the results presented here in this audit report provides data and information on the skills applied by higher education institutions and the skills demanded by the industry, and therefore will assist with efficient human resource planning that will address the problems of skills shortages and mismatches. One of these shortages and mismatches have been addressed. Unemployment at 33.3% and the youth unemployment at 58.3% will hopefully also be addressed through the bridging of the skills gap, and this will lead to a higher trajectory of economic growth as more people within the labor force will be able to engage more meaningfully in income-generating activities.
Eswatini Economic Policy Analysis and Research Center Senior Research Officer Mangaliso Mohammed reveals some of the skills that are a shortage in the country.
General ICT skills will just simply not cut it anymore. And so what we need is more people focused on a particular set of skill within the ICT sector. If you look at agriculture and manufacturing, we are lacking in terms of our mechanical engineers or technicians in Eswatini, because as you're producing in factories, you need people who understand machines, you need people who can service machines, you need people who understand automation, and people who can program the machines to work.
The skills audit report states that effective skills development in Eswatini is impossible without a nationally dedicated human resource development policy that will coordinate and guide training in all sectors of the economy. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla with Viminkosi Nzinisa Mbabane.
The Ministry of Finance Senate Portfolio Committee has recommended that the House pass a bill that will see government secure a loan of not more than 1.2 billion for economic recovery. This is contained in the committee's report in the Reconstruction and Development Bank, World Bank, Eswatini Economic Recovery Development Policy Loan Number 2 Loan Bill.
The Ministry of Finance tabled a loan bill that would enable it to raise a loan not exceeding 1.2 billion emalangeni. The ministry said this loan was to mitigate against the COVID-19 pandemic. It also said the loan was to help achieve universal health coverage for all citizens while ensuring an economic recovery path in the medium term. This loan will be repaid after 3 years in 16 semi-annual installments. The Ministry of Finance Senate Portfolio Committee has tabled its report on the loan bill. The report was tabled by Chairperson Senator Tony Sibanze. The report states expressed its concerns over the number of loans the country has taken over a short space of time. It also states that the committee cautioned the Minister of Finance over fixing the economy with borrowings. The report further states that the minister informed the committee that the country's external debt is still at sustainable level as the threshold of debt to GDP in the SADC region stands at 60%. The committee then recommended that the Attorney General makes all corrections in the bill on obvious mistakes or typographical and clerical errors. The committee also recommended that the loan bill be passed as amended with all necessary corrections into an Act of Parliament. The report is yet to be debated in the House. For Eswatini TV News, Tim Mavimbela with the Mbongwa Dube, Parliament.
Now staying with Parliament, senators passed the Value-Added Tax Amendment Bill. During the bill debate, Senator Tony Sibanze submitted that one of the things to be addressed by the bill once passed is the fine paid by businesses that charge VAT but are not registered for it. Sibanze says the amendment bill will not compel the Eswatini Revenue Services to charge double the amount collected as fine as the existing act does.
Before the Value-Added Tax Amendment Bill was passed, Senator Tony Sibanze first tabled the report of the Ministry of Finance Senate Portfolio Committee in the House. Sibanze then moved that the House adopts the report and in his motivation submitted that this would benefit businesses.
Lona lo tokhona ukuthi ubonakale ngazuthi so tholakala ase endalo ngakafanele kulomthetho we VAT ukhanze ukuthi so charge VAT ku business yakhe kanti aka register si amendile ke ukuthi cha lo mthetho le amendment ithi must pay double 2 times of leyo mali leyo la sikele committee ke cha amaphela kwakhiwa live akumane kuthiwe not exceeding 2 times atokhona lokuthi na Commissioner General na ayibuka le case akhanda ukuthi awucha bengasiko ukuthi bekuyinhloso lenganani.
Seconder of the motion was Senator Sylvia Mtetwa, who also made her submissions.
Lebengakusho lo
nasisasebenza lokwaba nje ingcinamba lencane liyavela kwangilama stakeholders lathi wona they are never a consultant nakusetshenzwa le bill but siyabonga ku-honorable minister ukuthi asho madam president ukuthi cha before ayicedzela yonke utawucela ukuthi ababone abakhulumise.
Attorney General Mashampu Kumalo made submissions on an amendment and how it should be worded. Senate President Lindiwe Dlamini then put the question to the House.
All those that are in favor say aye. Aye. All those that are against say nay. The ayes have it and the ayes have it.
Now that the bill has passed in Senate, it now awaits royal assent. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosi Mavimbela with the Mbonga Dube Parliament.
Beautiful Kingdom of Eswatini. Right now, let's see how our markets were performing today in our financial report.
Standard Bank. It can be.
Welcome back. Right now, we shall take a look at news making headlines in the world of sports. The Eswatini Swimming Association President Herman Jele says the Kana Zone 4 Championships tournament will serve as a preparation for the swimmers who stand a chance to represent the country in this year's Commonwealth Games to be held in Birmingham in England in July. Now, the Kana Zone 4 Championship Games will be held in Zambia from the 14th to the 18th of April, with the country being represented by 9 swimmers.
9 swimming national team athletes will head to Zambia this Monday to take part of the Kana Zone 4 Games Championship in Lusaka. Eswatini Swimming Association President Herman Jede says the assignment in Zambia would serve as a preparation process for some of the swimmers looking to qualify and be part of the Commonwealth Games to be held in England in July this year.
In fact, as they attend Zambia, it's in fact a part of the preparatory competitions in Birmingham for the Commonwealth Games. So out of this competition, not only is it good for our team, but also the athletes that are hoping to attend the Commonwealth Games, this competition is acting as a preparation competition for them. We have athletes ranking number 1 in the region through the 800 meters freestyle, and that's Haley. We have athletes ranking number 4 in the region, number 8, number 10 respectively within the different disciplines. So we go to this competition with a great sense of confidence that the Emma athletes are going to improve their results and bring us something that we can really be excited about as an executive and as a country.
The national team swimmers include team captains Manga Dlamini and upcoming youngsters Hale Hoy and Luca Fraser.
Ngidawuperforma kahle kakhulu, especially kule 100 fly ne 50 fly.
Definitely in my butterfly, it's definitely given me a lot more confidence than I had going into it, because my butterfly I did really well in Durban, so definitely it's boosted my confidence a lot going forward.
In Zambia, at training we normally do 2 to 3 Ks a day, and yes, the coach is really helping us to push and push and push. In Zambia, I'm looking forward to having fun and breaking more records with the team.
The games will begin on the 14th to the 18th of April this year in Lusaka, Zambia, with around 14 nations to take part of the tournament. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabisum Sonera, Mansini.
Young Buffalo's head coach Sabelo Mnisi says his team is in the title race following their huge victory over the past weekend. And Mnisi says his side stand a big chance to win this year's MTN Premier League with the remaining 10 games of the Premier League. Buffaloes are at 42 points in 20 games played so far and are 4 points behind local leaders who are Highlanders, who are at
Following their sweet victory against Tinyosi under the MTN Premier League, Young Buffaloes head coach Sabelo Mnisi is confident that they are in the right time for the chase of this year's MTN League. Mnisi says that the recent performance has, with no doubt, increased their chances to fight for the league alongside long leaders Bavana Highlanders and the defending champions Red Leopard, having started the league with a couple of defeats.
Ngizele ngayo bese sizawuchamba emaceleni abantu siwabonile ama-chances ngcombile siwakhile esichama emaceleni.
For now, Buffaloes are 42 points in 20 games played so far, 4 points behind league leaders Mbabane Highlanders, who are 46 points in 20 games. The defending champions, who are in second, are however in a fortunate position with a game in hand against Monone Pirates, and winning it would put them in the driving seat with 48 points. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera with Rinda Dlamini, Manzini.
Beautiful Kingdom. With those sports news, that brings us to the conclusion of our news bulletin at 8 at Eswatini TV. Before we go, here's a quick reminder of our top stories tonight. Bhekizwe Mazia is the new Chief Executive Officer of the National Agricultural Marketing Board. The Minister of Tourism has challenged the African Tourism Board to come up with strategies that will make it easy and cheap for Africans to visit the continent. And the Minister of Finance Senate Portfolio Committee has recommended that the House pass a bill that will see government secure a loan of not more than 1.2 billion emalangeni for economic recovery. Beautiful Kingdom of Eswatini. That brings us to the conclusion of our news bulletin at 8 here at Eswatini TV. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. It's been a pleasure indeed. We shall now cross over to the Weather Center for a detailed weather report from us and the rest of the team here at Eswatini TV. For now, it's good night and God bless.
Better health, better life. Another season with fresh discussions.
Ngetindzaba letibalulekile tetemphilo la ekhaya eSwatini lokunukelela ehlelweni nokuphila masangana.
To learn from our health professionals.
Psychosocial support group for mothers who are going through the journey of motherhood for all mothers.